When the world starts to collapse in on itself, you are left with two choices. Play Scrabble with your cheat code of a mom, or set up base camp with all the self-doubts in your mind telling ghost stories around a campfire on repeat. Obviously, an awakened 23-year-old such as myself who knows what he wants in life chose option C, that is, consume a bunch of old NHL games with a more critical eye like he would a movie or a video game from the 1997 to 2009 range. It was fascinating. And unethical. I mean, Johnny Bauer stopping a slap shot with no helmet sounded crazy secondhand, but to see it really showed me how much the league valued its players as human beings. I'm pretty sure the only good thing about the 1970s was Bobby Orr, because holy shit was he fearless. Dude was jumping over legs like Jesse Owens and was a one-man transition machine that was incredible to watch. The 80s were everything beautiful about the game or ugly about it, depending on if you're asking Mario Lemieux or Darren Pang, because the goaltending... The 1990s were fine until Jacques activated his Chaos Trap Hole card and made me fall asleep more than once, especially during the 1995 Stanley Cup Final, which I'm pretty sure was a nightmare that wasn't real. In the 2000s, referees just stopped giving a shit to the point where this, and this was allowed. The rest of the 2000s were way better afterwards though, especially in 2008 when these two would score 5 goals, take the puck, and go home. God, those were good times. Better times that set up the 2010s as a defining decade for where we are today. Of course, that's just the cliff notes. It's a little more complicated than that. Let's go back to the era of Miss Atomic Bomb. Just 6 teams here, and that's not cost effective. But you did get Gordie Howe, Andy Bathgate, Stan Mikita, Dave Keon, Johnny Busick, and the venerable John Beliveau, so each team had their own ticket seller. However, the same 6 teams get old after a bit. Puffin' and chuggin' makes Cal a dull bag skater, and straight up refusing to let your goaltender wear a mask is a crime against the union. Throw in the trash, I don't like it. I actually lied earlier when I mentioned that Bobby Orr was the only good thing about the 1970s. The league also decided to expand like its competitors, but ultimately decided to do it in 12 hours. The sheer amount of teams coming in, relocating, going defunct, made it for a game that was bigger, stronger, and even slower than before. Terry O'Reilly unselfishly leapt for Mike Milbury to beat someone with their own shoe, which is probably the most insulting thing that could ever happen to you. Dave Schultz was the Dirty Dan of his generation because he didn't fight like he was playing Donkey Konga. The Flyers won both of their cups as the decade's role models called the Broad Street Bullies. The film Slapshot detailed Harry Truman's playing career before his oddly acted retirement gig.
Albert, let's talk about Knuckles.
Tiger Williams gave J.K. Rowling the inspiration for the Nimbus 2000? Yeah, though the game was filled with more testosterone and murderous rage than ever before, this was a seed for the game to evolve. And in 1979, that seed grew into a cocoa plant, and after a simple acid-base extraction, the greatest of all time in Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux sent scoring into outer space. Very underappreciated Denny Savard spun for Linus Omar to twirl and would be more respected if the 1980 to 1990 Edmonton Oilers never happened. Hoken Lou was already a legend, but could have been better if the rest of his NHL career happened, but he was a sweet at heart, the big reason we had all of them, so I respect it. Marcel Dion was a traitor! But I get it, we were awful until Steve Yzerman came in and generously donated his knees, disc, and eye to help children in need because he's our son for a reason. I had a lot of fun watching these games just because of how ridiculous some of them got, but it didn't feel like the best all-around hockey because rapid expansion and the bad teams that came with it was probably a factor too, considering only 8 teams had a points percentage over 500. Also, the stuff you could get away with was pretty hilarious, but more on that later. Entertainment-wise, slam dunk, home run, deal, lock in those lyrics. But as a consumer who considers himself a modest fan of the tactical side, did the Blackhawks even play defense? Did anyone get it at all? Should I just keep my damn mouth shut? The 1990s, the last time when hockey actually sort of mattered mainstream. I mean, Mighty Ducks, NHL on ESPN, Die Hard, but it's the Stanley Cup Final for some reason. Fucking Seinfeld. On the ice, it wasn't as crazy as 9-4 after the second, but more or less it was the same game NHL 94 was based off of until... Yeah, by the way, if you're new here, prepare to become a pseudo-legal expert every US president or so. But usually just half the season gets lost, so it's not totally a big deal. Besides, it's not like the goals are going anywhere. Okay. Students, prepare for the most useful Zoom classroom session you had in 2020.
That's sad.
This man is Jacques. Jack Lemmon dug this little formation popular in Sweden called the neutral zone trap. One guy pressures the other team at their blue line, breaking it out, while the other four, in some combination, stay back to defend the neutral zone in their blue line, just in case you thought this was an entertainment product, or, God forbid, fun. As much as it was boring to watch critically and probably put millions upon millions of kids to sleep, it worked. And when something works, it peaks in the mid-2000s. Each team lost a goal of offense by the time Enema of the State came out, and numbers reached a 50-year low by Camden. But don't worry, everyone made up for it by having the right amounts of pugnacity, testosterone, truculence, and belligerence. Dudes like Chris Simon, Darcy Tucker, Tony Twist, corporate mascots, Scott Stevens, and Chris Pronger all asserted their dominance as big men in a game that played to their strengths. It was illegal to pass the puck across two lines, yet you could commit a wide assortment of felonies while getting off free most of the time. It doesn't make sense, but then again, this is a game where nothing is what it is because everything is what it isn't, and that's why we love it. I think. The league obliged until it was discovered that never 30 goal scorer Bobby Holik was getting paid more than Ziggy Palffy, and that's when things just went too far. Like I said, normally these things wipe out just half a season, but this one was special. Salary cap and cost certainty. No. Salary cap and cost certainty. Are you serious? Basic what? No.
Salary cap and cost certainty.
I tried. Okay, fuck it, sure. Remember goals?
Hockey scores!
You know, the main attraction to this for most people? Well, the league remembered how cool/essential they were and decided to do some intervening to artificially bring them back. There were more than a few rule changes both cool and fucking worthless, but these were the main ones. Number 1, the blue lines were extended a bit to keep more offensive possessions going. Self-explanatory. Number 2, as long as the puck goes before the skate at the opposing blue line, you can pass across as many lines as you want, like Erik Karlsson being godlike here in 2017. Number 3, you now had to stay on the ice and stay for a defensive zone face-off after getting dragged in your own end if you shot the puck down the ice from your own side of the red line. Number 4, and a big number 4, obstruction crackdown. You can't do that, or that anymore. I think you could guess what happened after this. The best visual example I can give to illustrate the effects of these rule changes, especially number 4, is this. Here's Peter Forsberg using his ass and such in the offensive zone before he inevitably gets hooked and the puck goes the other way. Here's Danny Briere ending careers left and right in the offensive zone, but you can see there's more of a reluctance to impede on his progress. It's night and day, and also a sign as to where we were going. Patrick Kane becoming just the second player 5'10" or smaller to get taken first overall in 2007 confirmed it. Contrary to what corporate executive man may think, the prototypical hockey player was the one on the ice scoring because the one in the box was being phased out. But what's more offensive space if goalies are getting good? Yeah, while the trap was becoming the low-hanging fruit for everyone to complain about, goalies were getting bigger, stronger, and more technical. Almost all of them, but he was fine, I think. The 2010s really saw goalies take over, though. Save percentages were the best in history, the goalie, Mr. Carey Price, won the MVP, and leading scorer Jamie Benn had 87 points in 2015. Of course, there was PTSD the times when players were gone fishing, so Gary and his posse decided to do a little more intervening. After 2017, you now can't do that. When I mean can't do that, you can't touch the wrists without risking being classified as an enemy of the state. What do you know? Draconian measures. They also nerfed the goalies a bit, but splitting time between backup and starter is their way of reverse Unoing. Anton Khudobin. Elite. Today, I honestly think the NHL is at a good happy medium more than it's ever been. More goalies are good, skill rules, they can go from 0 to fuck you speed at will. We have rookie defensemen like Cale Makar that can go through an entire team. Good stuff. Is it perfect? No. Is it fair? It's bullshit. But when it's executed at its highest level, it's pretty good.